G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. I want you to tackle that like button like Steve Irwin would tackle a bloody crocodile. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. With that said, now I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Posted by user Regular Fickle, titled, "Am I the a-hole for shaming my wife's friend in front of people?" I work for a special county DA department that specifically handles cold unidentified descendants cases. It's really not as interesting as it sounds. My wife and I were at a social gathering, and I mentioned that I worked for the DA's office, and explained what we handle. I mentioned this to one of her friends, and she asked me a ton of questions, which didn't bother me. I can't say much anyways. It then turned into why people like us don't do enough to solve these cases because we can just do forensic genealogy and give people their names and bring closure to families. I realized she was one of these Tiger King true crime morons. I can't stand those kinds of people and was a bit insulted. I told her that what we do isn't like one of her favorite crime shows, and it's far more complicated than that. We handle the cases that the police have given up on, and we're the ones footing the bills and going to courts to get permission. The reason why it's gotten to that point is that most of these cases involve victims who clearly did not have anyone looking for them. We do our jobs with a great deal of diligence and empathy. I finally called her a callous person who viewed crime victims as some sort of TV character, and almost romanticizing it to the point where she was more of a fan than a concerned citizen. I told her she probably didn't even graduate college, which I was correct by the way. It got silent, awkward, and she left citing a migraine. The reason why I can't stand those people is that they're ignorant and never know what they're talking about. Those are the people who will call into your office wanting to share their theories, which almost, I'm assuming always, involve sex trafficking and any plot lines from their favorite crime shows, when people with actual information should be contacting us. It's gotten worse over the years. Edit, my comment about her not going to college came from her clear lack of knowledge on things that she was lecturing me about. No, you do not become an expert in forensics for watching Tiger King or listening to podcasts. You become an expert through experience and education. At least in my field, that basically starts with a college degree. I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. I wanted to go with not the a-hole, but the fact that they are so demeaning to this person, it's more of a question of who was wrong in this situation for their attitude to me. And I don't think that demeaning them just because they're interested is the right way to go about it, especially saying, oh, you clearly didn't go to university, you're not educated. Just gives a stance of like, you're lower than me, you can't be talking to me, you don't deserve this. At least just treat them like a child and go, yes, honey, we're working on it, it's nice to know. You have a good night. I don't know if I can say the other person sucks in this situation, but obviously I'd say they're more ignorant than they suck. But everyone does suck here. Everyone sucks here? Don't get me wrong, I would have reacted the same way. And she is by far the bigger a-hole, but this, I told her she probably didn't even graduate college, was unnecessary. You can call her out without stooping to her level. Yeah, everyone sucks here. She sucks for trying to explain OP's job to them, but OP sucks because of the eye-rolling condescension when they could have politely educated them. Normally I'd agree, but when one person leads off with why people like us don't do enough to solve these cases because we can just do forensic genealogy and give people their names and bring closure to families, they are no longer actually having a discussion. They're accusing someone of not doing their job properly. The other person could have achieved the same thing by asking about the details of the job instead of claiming someone doesn't do enough. It's like accusing doctors of letting COVID patients die instead of asking why the illness is so deadly. That's a very good point also. Everyone sucks here. The true crime show fans do tend to minimize the work that actually goes into what you do and make for great armchair detectives. I can see why it would annoy you, but insulting her education was absolutely uncalled for. Why even throw that in there? You could have made your point without personal insults. It's like if you're fighting with someone about history. They believe they're correct, so you ask, where did you get your PhD in history? Knowing full well they didn't and you have yours. That would have been much better though, because it keeps it subject related. By going with just college, it makes her an arsehole, because it's more of a general attack. Let's say she did graduate from college and have a business degree. She would still be just as ignorant about the subject, so the attack seems to be more for the purpose of belittling her rather than just on the subject. Everyone sucks here. Posted by user AdDiligent, titled, "Am I the a-hole for shaming my brother and wife for refusing to help? My mother is having mental health issues, so I took in my 10-year-old brother. I'm a single 27-year-old male, and my brother is 25 and married with no kids. Moving in a 10-year-old and trying to manage a mentally ill person and working full-time is draining, and I am doing this with no help. I've asked my brother for help, mainly taking care of our brother on the weekends, and he refuses. His weekend is his weekend to spend with his wife, or to go golfing or ride their motorcycles. He doesn't want to be bothered. I find that ironic because both he and his wife post a lot about how family is everything. They took a break from social media, and I used that opportunity to call them both out, but mainly my brother. On my brother's page, I explained that our mother had a psychotic breakdown and could no longer care for our brother, and Kyle, the 25-year-old that is, refused to lift a finger to help, even just a little for a little time. I left another one on his wife's page saying that my brother became a dick after marrying her, but it was cool because they'll eventually eat each other alive. Oh god. It took a few days for them to find out about the posts, and a lot of people saw it. They thought it was a joke at first. My brother DM'd me 8 times, and I didn't bother reading them. I know he is mad. Edits. Unfortunately, my mother's breakdown is related to meth, and I don't think she's getting out anytime soon. They pressed charges on her to compel her to go to rehab, and it's a mess. Point is that my mother isn't concerning herself with Facebook. She's more concerned about the voices in her head. Edit 2. I absolutely do not begrudge them for not wanting to deal with our mum. I don't either. I do what I can at an arm's length, like speaking to her public defender, putting money on her books, etc. But they basically said, verbatim, they didn't want him. This was a week after posting about how they are thankful for their family during these troubled times, and families need to stick together. That was literally the second to the last post they had on both their accounts. Edits. He posted a picture of him with his dog to look sympathetic and warm, like a PR damage control. I'm itching to edit that picture as a meme and post it on his page. Edit. For people mentioning social services, what social services? He's under my care, not them. There is no grandmotherly social worker checking up on us once a week to make sure my brother is fine and slips me a $20 to take him out for pizza. Edit. For people asking about dad, my brothers have different dads and they're both locked up. My dad has nothing to do with this. Edit. I haven't had much of a relationship with my youngest brother since I moved in with my dad before he was born. My dad was very much a dad to my 25-year-old brother. Okay, I think that's a lot more information than we expected coming into this one. That is a messy, messy family situation. I'm gonna go with absolutely everyone sucks here on this one. That family, that is an unstable family, and I'm really sorry that they find themselves in this position. Obviously, they're not looking for government services when I imagine that those would be an available option. I don't think that posting publicly and shaming them was the right thing to do, but as we've seen on other posts, it has been effective in the past. It might not morally be the right thing to do, but it is effective. It gets things started. I think that OP does suck for doing that, although I can see why they would do that. I think that the brother sucks, absolutely, for not wanting to look after a family member that needs it. Although effective may not be the right way to go about it, because there was that one story where the family wanted to cover up a child they had adopted out when they had a kid at 18 years old, and the family found out and completely disowned those two, and it destroyed the family. So, take it as you will. Everyone sucks here. Yeah, they suck for not helping, but you suck for airing it all out on social media. It's easy to say they suck when we have no information about OP's brother's relationship with his meth-addicted mother. I mean, how often does this sub advocate for completely cutting off toxic family members? Maybe his brother did exactly that. ETA, in case this wasn't obvious, babysitting someone's child makes it hard for you to cut them out of your life. Edit 2, also, taking care of him on the weekends is roughly 35% of the childcare. That's not exactly a small sacrifice. I don't think you read this post carefully. This isn't about the mother at all. It is about their 10-year-old brother for whom they refuse to provide any help, either financially or time-wise. Unless you are suggesting a 10-year-old is also toxic family that deserves to be cut off, the brother and his wife are a-holes and hypocrites. Can't really be involved with someone's young child without being at least tangentially involved with him. Maybe the brother doesn't want contact with OP either. He doesn't sound as if he enables her. It's really common for addicts to use their kids as bargaining chips with the rest of the family. If she's in as deep as meth-induced psychosis, there is almost certainly a very long and complicated history here. You're the a-hole. You brought your mother into this and posted about her mental health online so you could make others look bad. How is just he the a-hole? Posting on social media is most certainly the wrong thing to do. However, refusing to assist in care for a 10-year-old brother and a mother is ridiculous. Abandoning family is significantly worse than posting to social media. He wasn't even asking for help with the mother. I reread this multiple times to make sure I wasn't the one with reading comprehension issues. Nope, he was asking the brother to help with their little bro. Tired of people whining, brother doesn't have to help if he doesn't want to. Sure, but that makes him the a-hole. What the hell is OP supposed to do? Sorry, little bro, not my problem. Foster care it is. Totally agreed. His mother is one thing, but you can't refuse to help the 10-year-old brother. That's just selfish and cold. You aren't forced to care for people just because of blood relation, and OP doesn't seem to care to find out why the brother is trying to cut the mum and brothers out of his life. Considering her addiction, it's possible the brother has a reason for trying to stay away. Also, maybe the brother's family is everything posts are a way to indicate to OP through social media that brother doesn't consider these guys family. OP isn't the only one who can shade people on social media. I think a good point to bring up there that you guys might have picked up on in the edits, that these people can't because these were posted before the edits. That little brother might not be blood related, so that brother might not see it as his responsibility. Posted by user Funny Representative 2, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter move back in to escape her neglectful father? I divorced my husband Roger 10 years ago. Since then, he's been nothing more than a Disneyland dad to our 16-year-old daughter Anne. He got a really well-paying job recently and bought a gorgeous house with a pool and a very nice car instead of paying back child support. Oh, lovely. She had been talking about moving in with him for months, saying how much fun she had at his house and how much she loved him. I could tell Roger didn't want that, but was letting me be the bad guy by saying he wanted her there, but I wouldn't allow it. After weeks of needling, I finally agreed to a 1-year trial period. She's been staying with him for over a month now, and she's begging to come home. Now that Anne is with him full-time, he isn't trying to impress her. He is only buying her dollar store face wash, along with dollar store shampoo and conditioner / body wash, instead of her expensive preferred brands. He's strict on clothes, so he took her crop tops and short shorts away, and she can only wear things that go below her knees. He doesn't cook and needs to make house and car payments, so instead of fresh homemade meals, they eat dollar menu fast food items / frozen food every day. Her room is completely empty, except for a bed and a dresser, because she was never meant to live there full time. He won't buy her anything else because he's a minimalist and hates clutter. She isn't in any danger, but she's living a bachelor's lifestyle. On top of this, it turns out Roger didn't think about neighborhood zoning, so instead of being driven to her old school in a Jaguar, she'll be stuck riding the bus to an entirely new school. She's begging me to come back, but I don't really want to let her. Now that she's gone, I can afford new clothes and to fix up the house and just relax. I don't have to scrimp and save just to hear about how her father would be able to afford nicer things. She wants to come home, but I think since she wanted to live with her dad so badly, she should stay there so I can relax for once. Am I the a-hole for saying she has to stay the entire year with him? Wow, I don't know what I just read. That took me a while to process. I had to go back through it again just because of how terrible that all sounds. That sounds terrible. Both these people suck. These parents suck at parenting. They're both mentally torturing their own daughter. She doesn't sound that old. Why are they doing this to her? He's depriving her of everything in her life. What kind of lesson are you teaching that as a dad? You know what? I send the signal that I'm a really rich guy that loves you, but I'm not paying child support, and if you come here, I'm going to deprive you of all your liberties, because that's the kind of guy I am. And then the mum being like, told you he sucks, and you're not allowed back. Ha ha! I would hate to be that daughter. That doesn't sound like they love her. I'm going to put it out there. Doesn't sound like they love that daughter. Good lord, why did you two have a kid? You both suck as parents. Everyone sucks here. Yeah, the poor kid is just in the middle of her parents trying to be as lazy as possible. I agree, everyone sucks here except the daughter. That poor girl trusted her dad and he played her. But she's been there a month, so she gets the picture. It's time for OP to let her come home. If OP is really strapped for cash, as the last bit about how she can now afford things implies, she should sue the dad for all the child support he's missed. Both her parents played her. She's just a toy to them, a means to annoy each other. Very true. I've seen people like this who have fallen for weekend dad syndrome, and it does suck. I have warned people like this, but I can't imagine as the responsible parent letting her be neglected as a lesson. Obviously, she was unaware her dad provided her a false narrative, and she wanted to believe it because it was her father. Obviously, she should have been nicer, but how was she supposed to know she was lying to him and her mum was being truthful? When many parents become resentful after separation. Now she is going to spend the last years before going off to college like she is unloved, and OP would do that out of a sense of fairness. Newsflash, you were duped that he would be a responsible father long ago, and now she is finding out for herself. You chose an unreliable partner, and she didn't choose to be born. Both of you have problems that you have to solve without it having been your fault. I fell for the weekend dad syndrome, and it ended with me in an abusive household. Apparently, I got lucky that my mum was willing to take me back. If my mum had been like OP, I would have been stuck in an abusive house. You're the a-hole. Having new clothes is more of a priority for you than your daughter's being in a supporting environment with an invested parent? She doesn't sound very supportive or invested either. She's trying to shame her daughter for being lured by things like clothing. Seems the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Oh, that is a really big roast. You're the a-hole. She's a kid. How is she supposed to know that her dad would treat her like that? You called him neglectful yourself. Making her stay makes you neglectful as well. Posted by user Purple Bethy. Titled, Would I be the a-hole if I tell my lodger she gets no say on what house I buy? I, 36 female, live in a house that I own with a lodger, 34 female, who has lived with me for 9 years. We've both had other lodgers come and go in that time, but it's just the two of us at the moment. For personal reasons, there are bad memories for me in the house, but I haven't been able to afford to move until now. Recently, I received some money and decided I'd like to sell my current house and buy a forever home, where I plan to live until I'm old. Hopefully, that house will see my lodger leave and me getting married again, kids, etc. over the next few years. Lodger has suggested she would like to move with me, which is great as I like having her around and the rental money is useful, but has now started making a lot of demands about features the new house must have or locations where it must be. She's lived with me a long time and I want her to be happy in the new place. But would I be the a-hole if I chose what I want and tell her that her choice is to move with me or find somewhere else to live, but I'm choosing my forever home and not taking her wishes into account? It's a fairly standard answer, I feel like. I'm a part-time wheelchair user and expect to need to use my wheelchair more in the future, so there are already quite a lot of requirements when trying to buy a suitable place for my future. I think absolutely not the a-hole at all in this situation. Being a part-time wheelchair user already absolutely restricts the type of house you can buy. Having someone else demand that, no, I don't want to buy this one that's perfect for you because I don't like it. You have to do this one that wouldn't be suitable for you. Plus I can move out whenever I like. So childish to have someone that you feel like you're tied to and entitled to bow down to their needs. Absolutely not the a-hole. Edit. Wow, I wasn't expecting so many responses. Thank you everyone. I've read every response so far and will try to keep up with any more. I appreciate the not the a-hole, no one is the a-hole here consensus. but you've raised some good points about her expectations and understanding of the situation maybe being different from mine. Maybe being different. So I'll make sure I have a calm but honest discussion with her about life goals and expectations, then make a decision about whether I actually want her to make this move with me. Thank you to those who have commented with thoughtful and insightful suggestions. It helps to stop and think about how she might be feeling and what her motivations might be. Edit 2. Lots of people are asking what a lodger is. I own the house, she pays me rent to live with me. She has her own bedroom and shares the kitchen, lounge and bathroom with me. We are friends and get on together pretty well, as you'd hope after living with someone nearly a decade. She is not my carer and there has never been any romantic relationship between us. So she's just a friend that's living with you and paying rent, like a renting person. Not the a-hole. It's your home and she's just a tenant, albeit a long-term one. If she doesn't like what you choose, she can choose to be a tenant elsewhere with the features she does want. Not the a-hole. She isn't a party to the transaction. She doesn't get a vote. Lodger is the a-hole for thinking that she does. Shut her down. Lodger is the a-hole for how she sounds like she's going about this, but Lodger does get to vote with her dollars. I think if she said something like, hey, OP, I really need my living accommodations to have X, so if you end up purchasing a home without that, I'll have to find another arrangement. Then she wouldn't be the a-hole. That's just how it goes. But for sure, seeking the proactively set shopping terms is crappy. If Lodger is asking for features that she's been living without for 9 years now, then she really has no say in anything, even if she is paying rent, zero say. Not the a-hole. Your money, your decision. I do think you should make it clear to her that you see your relationship with her as a temporary roommate, and not as anything permanent though. That's a very good point. I've never really discussed with her what I see our futures looking like. She has a boyfriend, and I've always assumed she'll move in with him someday, but she hasn't yet. I'll make sure I have this conversation with her before the house buying process gets too far. Posted by user Bryn Mendo, titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting my dad to walk me down the aisle because he's in a wheelchair? If anyone's seen The Office, anyone get flashbacks to Phyllis's wedding? Ugh. About 3 years ago, my dad was injured in a really bad hit-and-run car accident. He broke just about every bone in his body and left him paralyzed from the waist down. Our relationship has always been really good, but I hate seeing him in pain and admittedly try to avoid seeing him because it just makes me uncomfortable. In November, I'm getting married. I've been with my fiancé for 4 years, and he and my dad get on really well. Naturally, the discussion of who was going to give me away came up in the family group chat, and I kept silent after I realized my dad would be in a wheelchair. We always talked about him giving me away and having a dance at my wedding, and I don't want to be reminded of what could have been at my wedding. I messaged my mum privately and told her I want my uncle to walk me down the aisle as we're incredibly close. She naturally asked why, and I told her that my dad being in a wheelchair would add complications to the wedding. The walkway would have to be widened to accommodate his wheelchair, and he wouldn't be able to hold my arm or give me a proper hug. She was outraged, called me an ableist POS, and removed me from the group chat. My aunt has since called me, telling me my dad is absolutely devastated. Am I the a-hole? Update. I appreciate all the people who have messaged me offering me support. Your kind words have meant a lot to me, whilst rifling through a bunch of messages telling me to do horrible things to myself. Regardless of what you think of me, telling me these things isn't okay. I'm going to call my dad tomorrow. Update 2. Can people stop sending me such horrendous stuff? Think about what you're saying. You may not agree with me or my life, but you're just as bad as I apparently am if you're going around saying stuff like that to strangers on the internet. What's wrong with people? So yeah, I think those updates made it pretty obvious who the a-hole it is in this situation. Wow, to go through such a traumatic incident and then have your daughter just be like, you know what, because he's been through all these horrible things and he can't do what I wanted him to do, not going to make arrangements for my own father, my own flesh and blood, to walk me down on this very special day that he's been looking forward to all his life. Instead, I'd rather her much more abled uncle who hasn't had to go through a tragedy like this. Seems very heartless to me. I think it's obvious OP is the a-hole and deserves the backlash they're getting. You're the a-hole. What an awful daughter. You avoid him because it's hard on you? What about him? Now you don't want to accommodate him to walk you down the aisle? God, you should be ashamed of yourself. Your fiancé should take a long look at who he is marrying. Also, do you know how many brides don't have their dad because they're dead or dead beats? You should consider yourself lucky you have one. Yep, exactly this. I'd give anything for either of my parents to simply still be alive and be at my wedding next year. I didn't even need to read your post before saying to myself, yep, you're the a-hole. Then I actually read your post about how you were avoiding your father because his disability makes you uncomfortable, and about how your concerns for your wedding are so fudging petty. And I've revised my previous position. You're the a-hole, but not just that. You're one of the biggest a-holes I've seen in this sub. If I was related to you, I'd be so ashamed. And if I was your fiancé, I'd take this as a sign that our wedding vows would only be good until I had an accident and got disabled. Then I could bet on you abandoning me because of your shallowness. You deserve all the crap you're gonna get from this post. The vows are in sickness and in health, until death do us apart. There's no stipulations. What happens if her fiancé got sick like cancer, or had a stroke and was disabled, or something similar that happened to her dad happens to her husband? Is she gonna leave him? Divorce him because he's no longer her version of perfect? JFC, her fiancé needs to run for the hills. Bet that she's one of those brides who has been planning for her perfect day, but has no thought of marriage with one person for the next 40 to 60 years, and all of the things that may come with it. Posted by user Meadow Hickton, titled, Am I the a-hole for announcing my pregnancy at my best friend's wedding? This happened in January, but the repercussions are still very much happening now. My husband and I have been trying for a baby for over 5 years. When we went to a fertility doctor, we were told my husband had a low sperm count. A few months later, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, making our chances of natural conception incredibly low. We decided we were going to try for another year and then look into adoption. I found out in November that I'm pregnant and due in early August. My best friend's wedding is, as I said, in January. We have a big group of friends, and we all live pretty far away from each other, as well as went to university in different places and moved there. It's very rare we're all together, and the news of my long-awaited pregnancy was one I wanted to share in person and not over the phone. I didn't make a massive announcement. I simply just people as I saw them. I don't know what that means. A lot of people knew we were struggling, so wanted to see how we were getting on. It drew a bit of attention, but nothing major. My best friend dragged me away towards the end of the night and said she was furious with me for making this night all about me. I was apologetic but explained my reasoning and expected her to be happy for me. She was anything but and has made absolutely no effort with me since. Am I the a-hole? Update, why in the ever-loving frick do people think it's okay to tell me and my baby to die? Screw your head back on. Oh my god, Reddit, chill. Unfortunately, I don't think that this is real, because how can you go for 5 months after January when you don't do this and you're still asking Reddit if you're the a-hole? I think it's pretty obvious. This person is just wanting to vent and release their tensions and get other people's opinions on what to do, I feel like. It's pretty obvious that they are the a-hole for this one, as you would read anywhere. Announcing anything at anyone's wedding makes it about you and not about the bride and groom at all. I'm sure there was a time before the wedding happened where you all have to meet up before the wedding and have like a night out or just a little get together. Maybe just mention it there. Don't make it a huge display. Actually, OP, no, what? Great idea. As they're saying their wedding vows, get up and say, I object. I'm pregnant. Everyone applaud me. That's the much better option there. You're the a-hole. You hijacked what's supposed to be their special day to make an announcement about you. Also, OP, it's simply not that difficult to create an extra hangout with the out-of-towners after the wedding is over. She was maybe 2 months pregnant. She had like 7 more months. Yeesh. To add to that, aren't you supposed to wait till week 12 because the first trimester you can miscarry so easily? Like, yeah, you don't have to wait, but having fertility issues in addition to this risk seems just an a-hole move to let people know so early. When to tell friends and family should be the choice of the parents of the unborn child. Whilst 12 weeks is the norm, we have to question why. I mean, if my friend went through something like a miscarriage, I would hope I would be there to support them. If I don't know, then it's hard to know to be there. If my friend went through a miscarriage at, let's say, 9 weeks, the last thing on my mind would be, this is an a-hole move because they shouldn't have told me so soon. The reason people tend to keep early pregnancies a secret is the fear of having to deal with people asking them about the baby in the event of a miscarriage. But that's on personal preference. Some people want to keep friends and families closer, and if that's what they want to do, it's not an a-hole move. I agree the timing of this announcement was inappropriate though. I had people make announcements during my hen do, and although I wasn't bothered enough to say anything, I still definitely remember how inappropriate it was. The idea is that if you tell anyone, you should really only tell people who you completely trust to help you through such a thing. And even if you didn't tell anyone, it's not hard to call up that friend and family member and ask for support. On the other hand, if you tell everyone, you'll have to call up everyone who might know and tell them the bad news, all while grieving yourself. And if someone doesn't get the bad news, you run the risk of seeing them at the family reunion 2 years down the line and being asked, "Oh, where's the baby?" Which just reopens that whole can of worms. Apologies to anyone who that opens a can of worms to. That's obviously not my intention, but it's more of an awareness thing that people need to be aware of. Compassion needs to be applied in these situations. Alright, I think I'm going to hand you guys to outro Markee now. G'day there guys, outro Markee here. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Now with that said, we have some special mentions. Everyone that signed up for my Patreon, everyone that's a channel member, you guys all know who you are. I'm going to start putting you on screen in the near future. Sorry, I'm very lazy, but I do love each and every one of you, and you all know that. If you want to join, there is links down in the description below. If you want to be a channel member, there's a join button next to subscribe. It helps me out immensely. Also, I have a second channel that does memes. It's called Markee 2. It should be on screen here now. If you like memes and you want to laugh with me, it's some not so politically correct content all the time. Hope you enjoy it. Click on the screen, subscribe, and enjoy the memes. That's all I have for today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.